this time instead of 2, but we do appreciate that. Robert Tillman will start his 2-minute response to that question now. Thank you, sir.
I am Robert Tillman. I'm running for Congress to change the outcome of last year's election in 2010. I ran in that campaign, but I lost in the primary. And you're talking about Obamacare. There's no such thing as Obamacare, but President Obama does care. But we passed a Patient Protection and Affordable Act. Doesn't that sound really positive that we're trying to do something for America? And Republicans labeled it Obamacare to try to criticize President Obama. But we turned a negative into a positive because now we call it Obamacare, although it's still the Patient Protection and Affordable Act. It gives women a right. Women are considered a pre-existing condition in and of themselves because the insurance company calls it that way. And now you can also keep your children on their insurance policy until they're 26 years old. You can get your prescription drugs filled year-round without falling into the donut hole. You can get insurance if you have a pre-existing condition. These are all things that are involved and implemented in the Patient Protection and Affordable Act. What we need is more things like this. And as Democrats, we're going to try to improve the Patient Protection and Affordable Act and implement it in 2014. But when started in 2013, there's going to be some more positive things that you're going to get. So we do not want to repeal it. If anyone out there who's thinking about themselves, they should vote as if their life depends on it. Because there are people who do not have insurance, and the Patient Protection and Affordable Act is going to give you that opportunity. I'm Robert Tillman for Congress. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Robert, for that response. We're going to move over to Thomas Jefferson. I'm going to turn his mic up and turn all the rest of them down, and that gives us less echo, which is always a pleasant surprise. Thomas, your 2 minutes for this response that was just given by Shane now starts.
As far as in regard to the Patient Protection and Affordable Health Care Act, I think it's too expensive. And this is one of the things that we really need to look at. The thing I'm not in favor of is voting 33, 34, 35, 36 times to repeal it until we know what we have to replace it with. And that's kind of the approach that I would take. You know, look at the 2 million people that it's helped, but what about the 28 million it hasn't? And that's the thing I'm looking at, is that it seems to, it does actually provide a benefit to some people, but there is a large, and I mean vast majority of those that it was intended to help that it won't, and it actually provides a disadvantage and a tax disadvantage. And then I think there was a provision in there for the sale of durable medical equipment to have a special tax that was to help fund this. I mean, it's actually costing healthcare increases through the forms of special taxes, and it's putting an undue tax burden. And I think that was what the Supreme Court ruling was they said, yeah, of course you can do this because the government can tax its people, and this boils down to just another form of tax on people. And your healthcare should not be another tax. You know, healthcare should be healthcare. And this was more of a watered down insurance reform that everybody, you know, fought over, and you get what you get. I mean, everyone fought over it until this is the thing that we have now. So like it or not,
30 seconds.
Like it or not, I think that, you know, the Obamacare is going to be in place. There's a chance maybe that it won't be. But what I would rather see happen is start working on the next thing. You know, what great idea does Paul Ryan have? What great idea would Harry Reid come up with? You know, what do we got going on? I know what Gary Johnson has in mind. I know what I have in mind. But, you know, that's the thing is, what do we have to replace it before we repeal it? Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas Jefferson, for your response on that one, sir. Okay, now we will move to the last candidate of his response, which is Mike Pompeo. Sir, if you give me just a second to set up your timer, you will have 2 minutes to respond to the question that was given by Shane Farley of newscal.net. Shameless plug right there, but I think it worked. I think it worked pretty well. Okay, Mike, you have 2 minutes. That begins now.
Great, thank you. So the question was about the Affordable Care Act. I think it's the single worst piece of legislation ever to pass the United States Congress and be signed by the President of the United States. It is incredibly job destructive. That is, there are already folks here in South Central Kansas who can't find work as a result of employers who just can't afford to hire folks. Second, it takes $716 billion out of Medicare. So if you're a senior and you're worried about Medicare's continuation, the Affordable Care Act is not good for you. It takes $716 billion out of Medicare. It creates a new entitlement program at a time that we already can't afford to pay for the programs that exist already. My dad's 83. I've got lots of folks that are friends of mine who are already drawing Medicare and Social Security. The last thing those seniors need is another entitlement program that is a drag on the federal fisc when we already are $16 trillion in debt. This is also the largest tax increase in the history of the United States of America. Enormous amount of taxes buried. The taxes on the sale of your home, taxes on medical devices, taxes on health care plans. This is not the right direction to take our health care system. We know this. We know that the health care system wasn't perfect before the Affordable Care Act. And the Affordable Care Act is certainly not affordable. We can go back and create competition in the health market, force insurers to compete all across the country for your business to add value. Talk to your docs. Go to your docs here in South Central Kansas. Ask them what they think about the Affordable Care Act. I am very worried when we get into more rural parts of our state, places like I'm sitting tonight, places even further west, you will find doctors who simply refuse to treat patients because the Affordable Care Act doesn't let them run their business, doesn't let them be able to have the resources to truly treat the needs of their patients. The Affordable Care Act, we shouldn't wait for anything to undo the Affordable Care Act. We need to do it now.
And thank you for your response. We will now move to the rebuttal section, which is 1 minute to respond to what was said by both of your opponents. We will start with Robert Tillman. That's going to start here in just a second. Robert, are you ready? Okay, your time begins now.
I'm Robert Tillman. I'm running for Congress because I don't believe a word that Congressman Mike Pompeo just said. And if you don't believe it, or even if you do a fact check. Because what Republicans are doing is that they don't tell the truth, and then when they do almost tell the truth, then it's got a twist at the end that puts it back into the lie category. I just believe that they're tricking and scaring the American people into voting Republican. They have an agenda. That agenda means I got plenty of money, I want more money, and I don't care about you. But when you come to conversation, and when it comes to debate, when it comes to making speeches, then they're going to say that that you are number one on their mind. I say check their record, check their budget, check their voting status, and then you will place your check for Robert Tillman for Congress. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Robert, for your 1 minute rebuttal. We will now move to Thomas Jefferson for his 1 minute rebuttal. Thomas, are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Okay, your 1 minute starts now.
Okay, my rebuttal to Mr. Tillman, sadly enough, sitting next to me is our congressman, and he's a lawyer, and I cannot say that he exaggerated or lied about this Obamacare. And I would like to, but I can't. What I'd like to use my 1 minute is explaining what the replacement for it could be. Medical savings account of $4,800 per tax-paying citizen that they're allowed tax-free or tax-sheltered dollars. That can be spent on eyeglass, that can be spent on dental, medical, however you want to do it. And then Medicare starts at $250,001, and the private insurance is the backstop gap between the medical savings account and the Medicare. So that way everyone can have a cap. And then just the other day a guy was yelling at us, make a cap, leave it at that. So there you go. Thank you.
Thank you for your 1 minute response, Thomas Jefferson. We will now move to Mike Pompeo for his 1 minute rebuttal. Mike, are you ready?
Ready to go.
Yeah, thank you. Your 1 minute starts now.
Thank you. Look, I think Mr. Jefferson had it right. His solution, I think, is pretty close. What he talked about in very technical ways is giving power back to the patients and the doctors. Taking it from Washington, D.C., with a highly centralized bureaucracy, with a 15-person board that's going to decide which of you can get treatment and which of you can't based on how old you are and what your health conditions are. It's called the Independent Payment Advisory Board, and it's in Obamacare, and it would be really bad for seniors all across the state. What we've got to do is return power to patients and docs to let them sort out the best treatments and the best way to do it. And we've got to reward everyone in the healthcare system, whether it's medical device manufacturers, pharmaceutical companies, insurance providers, all of the various docs, surgeons, primary care systems, all the folks who are participants in the healthcare system, we've got to reward them for good outcomes. And when we do, we'll get good outcomes. It's a fundamental notion, and we can do it. We can do it well.
Thank you, sir. That will end the 1-minute rebuttals from all three candidates. Now we will move into the